Welcome back, everybody, to another losing episode of the MiraCLE podcast with yours truly, Kyle, or Kaizy. I'll probably just start going by Kaizy. Guys, it's getting difficult to make these just because, I always write down a few notes before I make these, just so I kind of have an idea of what to talk about, things that I want to talk about, things that I think are important. But I feel like every week I'm just writing down the same things, which is a recap of the loss, something about Freddie, Baker, and the offensive line. I feel like, there's obviously a lot more than that, and there's, other things to address. But the point is that we keep losing. Freddie sucks. And just the whole team sucks. I tweeted it out. Not that any of you follow me on Twitter, which you should. But I even said, after the first quarter maybe, I was like, the Browns suck, and even if we somehow come back to win this game, we still suck. We just got lucky, or, this is a team we should have beaten. We can suck and win, We sucked in the Jets game, which we won. But, of course, we didn't even end up winning. We ended up losing. And another note, it's getting cold outside, which kind of really sucks. It's 28 degrees right now, and I don't like that. But anyway. So the Browns lost because we're terrible. What did we score? We lost to the Broncos 24-19. Honestly, I know it was a one-score game, only 5 points, but I wouldn't even say the game was that close. I think we got beat pretty comfortably, I guess. Maybe that's not the way I want to put that. But the point is, I think the score is not indicative of the actual game itself. I think we got beat worse than that, but maybe that's just because I'm frustrated with the team. How do you lose to the Broncos? Listen, I get it. It was daylight savings time. We're in Mile High Stadium, which we play in, maybe once a year. So, but that neither of those are enough of an excuse to lose that game, right? And daylight savings time doesn't even count because everybody has to deal with that. So, I just don't get it. And I even said last week when I was talking about this second half of the season, the easy games, air quotes, that I wasn't so sure we could win half the games, let alone win out and go 11-5, right? Now we'd be extremely fortunate and lucky, and it would be a miracle to go 10-6. So, at this point, realistically, 9-7 is our best bet. Honestly, 8-8 is our best bet. To go 6-2 the rest of the way, those are our highest hopes, I guess. That's the best chance we have. And it's not going to happen. We play the Bills next week, who are 6-1. They're a good team. They barely lost to the Patriots. They're 6-2. They barely lost to the Patriots. They're a solid team, and there's no way we beat them. It is at home, but we have yet to win a home game. So that doesn't really make a difference. We've only had 3 home games so far. That's kind of crazy to me. 5 away games? Yeah, I guess that's right. Well, we got 3 home games in a row. Don't know if we'll win one of them, which kind of sucks. We could potentially go 0-8 at home this year. And, considering the Browns did really well on ticket sales so far this year and sold a lot of season tickets, that would really suck for the people who spent thousands of dollars for those. Because, listen, this was an easy year, or at least it was before the season started, to be a Browns ticket salesman. And enjoy your 1 year, guys, because it's not going to be like that next year. This is just terrible. So let's just get into the little I don't know, intricacies of the game. That's not even the word I want, but whatever. I'm just all flustered and out of sorts. Quick gloss over the offensive line. We made changes. Wyatt Teller replaced Eric Kush at right guard. Greg Robinson came back to start at left tackle, which I strongly disagree with, and he played really poorly. He played better in the second half. The first half, specifically the first quarter, I guess he was so bad. It's funny, too, because I made it a point. As soon as I found out that he was going to be starting again in that game, I was like, I'm going to watch him on almost every play. Like, I don't want to watch him on every play to the point where I don't see what's going on. But I want to watch him like start out on every play and see if he's, getting his blocks, staying on his guy, getting beat, not getting beat, whatever. He got beat on almost every play. Like, if it was a pass play, the guy got right past him because Greg Robinson is slow as molasses. And I guess I don't really remember the run plays. Maybe he did better in those. I don't know. But he did not play well. And I tweeted about that too. I was like, I'm so glad to have Greg Robinson back. He's getting beat on every single play. And he gave up a sack, I believe. So I don't know why he was back in. Even at this point, even if like technically and statistically he might be better than whoever else, like that isn't always indicative of their actual gameplay. Maybe it is. I don't know. I feel like it's not, And I don't really know how they grade or rank offensive linemen anyway. But all I know is that even if Greg Robinson is better, I'm sick of him. I'm sick of him, and I don't want him there anymore, So I wish we had kept Justin McCrane instead. He's more of a veteran. I like him better. And I don't get mad at him as often. And I don't have to stop watching the game to see whether or not he's getting beat on certain plays. And that would be nice to have. It's nuts. I saw a tweet the other day, or I saw someone say that when Johnny Manziel was quarterback, this was our offensive line when Johnny Manziel was quarterback. And I wish I remembered who it was so I could give him credit, but it doesn't really matter because I could figure this out anyway. No plagiarism here, folks. The offensive line when Johnny Manziel was quarterback was from left to right. Joe Thomas, future Hall of Famer, obviously. Joel Bitonio, who's one of the best guards in the entire league, potentially also a future Hall of Famer. Alex Mack, who at the time who was very young, potentially even a rookie, but he was still really good and had a lot of potential. Right guard was John Greco, who was, I don't know if he was a veteran at the time, but he was solid. He was kind of like a Chris Hubbard, just an average, decent lineman. And then at right tackle, we had Mitchell Schwartz, who is now probably one of the better right tackles in the league and probably the best offensive lineman for the Kansas City Chiefs. So, we had one of the best offensive lines in the entire league at the time. And I miss that. I miss having 4, maybe 5 really good offensive linemen because now we have 2. And we'll see. And Wyatt Teller played pretty well, it looked like, so we'll see what happens with him. But Joel Bitonio and J.C. Treader are basically that entire line. They're guarding 5 people on every play. And even they get beat sometimes. They're not perfect, So that is what it is. And of course, the trade deadline has come and gone. So nothing we can do really in that regard other than move our own people around that we already have. We'll probably keep Wyatt Teller. And we'll probably keep Greg We'll probably keep Greg Robinson in there. We'll probably keep him in there just for continuity and because he's been in there pretty much the entire season. I still think it's the bad mistake. I think the goal there for the line is to get the 5 best people out there, the 5 best players, on the line. And I don't think he's one of them. I don't think he's one of the 5 best line. I think Eric Kush, who's a guard, could probably play the tackle better than him. Or Wyatt Teller. Wyatt Teller's a big boy. He could probably play left tackle better too. So whatever. Greg Robinson he's not as bad as Cam Irving. Okay, so here's the most here are my most hated Browns players of all time. There's really only two, I think, like that I can think of off the top of my head. So if there are more, they weren't bad enough for me to want to remember them. So number 2 is Kenny Britt. When did we even have Kenny Britt? I'm actually curious. Was it during that? I think it was during the 0-16 season, and we just had him for that single year. Stupid gap-toothed piece of garbage. So we had him, Kenny Britt. He had a 1,000-yard season with the Rams the year before. Oh, he's only 31, and he's not in the league anymore. Yeah, we had him in 2017 to 2018, which was the 0-16 season. Okay, that's what I thought. And then, didn't we have Cam Irving the same year? Oh, well, I spoiled it because number 2 was Kenny Britt and number 1 was Cam Irving. I absolutely could not stand him, and it's incredible. Wow, Cam Irving is 6'6". That's tall. I always thought he was a little smaller. 6'5". Okay, so we got rid of him, and he was only on our team for 2015 and 2016. So we got rid of him before we got Kenny Britt. For some reason, I thought they were both part of the 0-16 season, but I guess not. So anyway, yeah, those are my 2 most hated Browns, and Greg Robinson is starting to get up there. I don't think he's quite in that league yet. He's kind of in the area of like, if we get rid of him by the start of next season, I probably won't really remember that I hated him so much. But he's getting into, Kenny Britt, Cam Irving territory. Getting on my nerves. And it sucks too. You know what I'm just thinking about? If Desmond Harrison wasn't a fool and he wasn't skipping practices and being late to, what was he late to? Maybe he missed a flight or something like that. If Desmond Harrison wasn't a bum, and we did, because we would not have cut him, I don't think. He showed a lot of promise last year, and he showed a lot of potential. And the only reason we got rid of him this year is because he was, I guess I don't really know how to put it, but he was being a bum. He was late to practices. I think he missed a flight or something like that. He just wasn't committed, and he wasn't disciplined, I guess. And he didn't really take it seriously, which sucks because I think that he played pretty well last year, sort of. He wasn't perfect, but he was also a rookie starting at the hardest offensive line position in the league at left tackle. So I think that if he were to stay on this year and we developed him, he could very well be starting right now and doing a good job of it. I think he would have been really, really good. But, of course, in typical Browns fashion, people just seem to leave this team in the craziest of ways. So whatever. The offensive line didn't play that bad, honestly. I'm complaining about Greg Robinson specifically, but the offensive line has definitely, it's still not good. It's probably bottom half of the league, but we've definitely played much better than we did since week 1, I think, at least. So, it is what it is, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. I guess that's it. Despite that, Baker had a pretty good game. Sort of. He definitely had a few missed reads. It's hard to say Baker missed this guy or Baker missed that guy because quarterbacks have a progression, right? If your second read is wide open and your first read is kind of open, you're gonna throw to the first guy. That's your first read, and if you can make the pass, you can make the pass. So that 4th and 1 where OBJ was open down the sideline, I don't know. That could have been the logistics of the play, but I guess it also could have very well been Baker being a moron and not seeing him. And OBJ has a right to be frustrated. That's always who he is. He's very outspoken. He's very egotistical sounds really harsh. But he's very passionate and very emotional. So just like Cleveland Browns fans. So I get it. If I was one of the best receivers in the league and I'm not getting the ball or my quarterback can't throw it to me when I'm wide open for a touchdown, I'd probably be a little frustrated too. I mean, I don't excuse him causing a lot of drama and stuff, especially with the whole shoe thing. Like, here's the thing about the shoes, and it's kind of silly. The whole thing is silly. If they didn't know that they were going to get, like, in trouble, like, if they didn't know that they were going to get fined or, asked to take the shoes off, that's one thing. But, like, you would think that they definitely did know that. Like, you knew you were going to get in trouble for wearing the watch. You knew you were going to get in trouble for, maybe not the visor, but you knew you were probably going to get in trouble for wearing shoes that don't match the dress code. So why do it? Like, if you're going to get in trouble, like, stop getting fined. Listen, the rules are dumb. You should not be fined for wearing different shoes. Or maybe jewelry I can see because I feel like that could make a difference in a game. I feel like that could hurt somebody. At least if it's outside, like not in your ears. Or a necklace. If it's like on your wrist, I feel like that matters. So while I don't necessarily agree with the rules, you still have to follow them until they get changed, if they ever do. And like they know this, and they do it anyway. And I just think it causes, that felt good. I think it causes problems. So I don't really agree with them. And they're not stupid, so I'm assuming they knew that they would get in trouble or talked to about their shoes. And I don't know if they got fined or not. Probably not, just because they changed them at halftime. But maybe they got fined for the first half they wore them. I have no idea. But just another silly Cleveland Browns antic thing that's going on that has nothing to do with football, but happens nonetheless. So I don't know. What was I even talking about? Baker. I'm kind of done on him. No, I don't mean I'm done on him. I just meant I was kind of done talking about him. He played okay. Still a huge difference from last year to this year. It does seem like he's only making one read and then just trying to make it work, which is why he's thrown so many interceptions, because you can't do that every play. But he's been playing better, I guess, which is nice to see. And that's kind of optimistic of me to say, because he's been playing really kind of bad still. But so have lots of QBs in their first few seasons, So I'm still on board with Baker. Not on board with Freddie. Still off of him. Nothing has changed. And I even said, like, even if he does manage to squeak out a few more wins the rest of the season, I'm probably still done with him. And I feel like most of Cleveland is that way, but then, of course, there's also the people who are like, we need some continuity, we need to make it work, or we need some continuity, we need to stick with people, we need to give them time. Not all coaches were successful in their first season. I get that. And it's not like, that's why I was okay with Hugh Jackson, right? Because I didn't notice a lot of the silly coaching mistakes he made the first season. So at that point, it was like, he just needs more time, needs better players, whatever. But I need to fix this pop filter. But at a point, it got to the point where I noticed all of the silly coaching mistakes he was making in his second and third year. And while this is Freddie's first year, he's been around the league for a long time. He's played football. And I just don't see other young rookie coaches making those mistakes. Sean McVay brought the Rams to the Super Bowl in their third season under him, maybe? And he immediately turned the team around the first year he was there. He wasn't making silly coaching mistakes. Now, Sean McVay is Sean McVay. I mean, he's kind of a one-of-a-kind deal. I mean, he's a great coach. But the point is that I'm okay with some continuity and sticking with a coach if they know what they're doing and if they're making good decisions and if they're not morons. Like, if they're good coaches with not a lot of talent on the team, that's fine. I get it. Or maybe he makes a few mistakes here and there. But when you're constantly making mistakes every single game, really silly ones, you don't know what timeouts are or how to use them. You don't know what personnel to put in. You don't know much, to be honest. When you don't know a lot and you're making really bad in-game decisions every single week, and you're just kind of a moron, at least in the eyes of many Cleveland fans, myself included, like, that's completely different. You know, it doesn't seem... The Browns always need time for the process, right? Like, the Browns always need time to get new players and, go through growing pains with rookies and younger players and get a new coach and get a new front office and get new staffing. Like, why? It's not that way for other teams. The Steelers have been good for a really, really long time. The Patriots have been good for a really, really long time. The Rams went from being one of the worst teams in the league to one of the best teams in the league, and it stayed that way under Sean McVay. The 49ers went from being one of the worst teams in the league in a game I thought was a guaranteed win this year to now being the only undefeated team left in the league. Right? Like, other teams don't need multiple years, and in this case, multiple decades to get going or to find success and do well and compete for titles and go to the playoffs and things like that. Yet the excuse for the Browns is always exactly that. It is always, we need time. We need to let things develop. It's their first year. These guys are young. It's a rebuilding season. Like, it's only that way for us. Like, other teams can just turn it around immediately and start doing... They can go from worst to first real easily. They can do it well. 1 year, 1 off season is all they need. Yet the Browns have needed 2 decades to do that. I'm not supposed to swear on this podcast. 2 decades. I don't know why I don't swear. I don't know why I'm keeping it clean, but I guess I decided to do that, and I'm sticking with it. So I just don't understand it. I don't understand why we specifically always need more time than everybody else. And by more time, I mean like 100 times more time. So that just doesn't make any sense to me. And so that's the thing that a lot of people are saying. But that can't be the excuse every single year. That can't be the excuse for 2 decades since we've come back. I mean, we've had one winning season, 2 winning seasons since we came back. 2 winning seasons in the past 20 years is horrible. That's probably the worst in the league, I bet. Maybe the Lions are below us. I wouldn't be surprised. We've only had 1 playoff appearance in that time. That might also be one of the worst in the league. I don't know. Definitely bottom 3rd, bottom 4th. We're not good. And if people want to say, oh, give it time, we need continuity, whatever. Again, I'm just going to say that no other team in the entire league needs as much time as the Browns do. They just don't. So I think that is enough for me to want, maybe not immediate success, right? Like I'm not expecting, an undefeated season right off the bat, but we should be winning most of these games. And Freddie Kitchens should not be making the mistakes he's making. We have so much talent on the team, and yet we're still garbage. So a lot of that has to fall on the coaching staff, right? The players didn't get worse. I mean, Baker did, I guess. But maybe that's because the coaching staff changed. He doesn't have the same quarterbacks coach. He doesn't have the same head coach. Doesn't have a lot of the same people. The defensive coordinator can help the quarterback even, just with understanding coverages and things like that. Like, everybody who was there last year, with the exception of Freddie and, I don't know, maybe 1 or 2 other people, I don't know, is not there anymore. And that's definitely going to mess with a quarterback a little bit, I would think. So we should be able to find relative success. I mean, and it's not even immediate success considering how we played last year. Last year we were 7-8-1 and considered successful, at least to Cleveland fans. Maybe not to other people, but even to most people, they probably thought we were successful. And then this year we've obviously completely regressed. Now we're 2-6. We're not going to do as well as last year. There's no way we go 7-8-1 or better, rather. No, not a chance. So I'm off of Freddie Kitchens and like I said, the argument against it would be you need time. I don't think we do. We've had plenty of time. We've had 2 freaking decades. And we should at least be better than last year, and we're not. So I think I'm right, and I think anyone who doesn't think I'm right is wrong. That's me summed up in a sentence. Not really, but kind of really, and especially in this case. So, whatever. Just me being mad again, like every single week. The defense played awful. One of their worst games of the season, if not the worst. I feel like the defense has been pretty good up to this point. I've said that I've liked Steve Wilkes, even though I see a lot of people bashing him. I think the defense has played pretty well. It's the fact that the offense can never stay on the field, and the fact that we've played some pretty good teams. So the defense normally plays well. It did not play well this game. I mean, it had its worst game of the season against probably our worst opponent of the season so far, minus the Jets. So they didn't play well. Of course, you have Jermaine Whitehead going off on Twitter. I still have a bunch of the tweets saved. Not his tweets, but I have other people's tweets of screenshots of his posts. So like other people screenshotted Jermaine Whitehead's posts on Twitter and Instagram, and I have those tweets saved. So I've been informing a lot of people of what happened, considering it got taken care of so quickly. Because he not only immediately deleted the posts, I went on and saw it. He deleted the posts, which I saw, like because I went to his page and I couldn't find anything, and then a little bit later his account got suspended. And now I don't have Instagram, so I wasn't able to go on there. I don't know if it got suspended on there, or if he deleted them, or maybe they're still up. I have no idea. But on Twitter, I saw. I saw screenshots of the tweets, and I kind of saw the whole. I didn't see the actual tweets themselves, unfortunately, but I kind of saw the rest of it happen live, which was pretty cool. But when I say pretty cool, I mean kind of really sucky that. I mean, other than this game, the rest of the season he had played pretty well. But when you miss 3 tackles, or like a bunch of tackles in this game, one that went for a 75-yard touchdown, among other ones, you're gonna get flamed on Twitter, and just ignore it. Or if you're gonna respond, you can't respond the way you did. To 200 people making racist comments and threatening to kill people and shoot them. Like, come on now. Part of me thinks that he wanted to get cut. I think that's a really dramatic and extreme way to get cut from a team. I feel like there's other ways to go about it, but he took the Antonio Brown route, I guess. He wanted to leave on really harsh, dramatic terms, so whatever. Maybe that's not the case. Maybe he just genuinely made a mistake, but I think there's a little floaty thing in my water. That really sucks. Probably going to drink it anyway. But so he got cut, obviously. I'm sure another team will pick him up. Because, I mean, if other teams can pick up Kareem Hunt, for example, and Antonio Brown, and all these other crazy guys, then Jermaine Whitehead will get picked up. Because all he did was tweet things, And I say that like it's not a big deal. I mean, it is, but he'll probably get picked up by somebody and then start acting completely normal again, start playing really well. That's usually how it goes. So, Browns are now Excuse me. Now in third place, I think we've been in third place in the AFC North now. Ravens are 6-2. They're looking really good. To be completely honest, I actually kind of like watching the Ravens, and I think I'm going to root for them the rest of the season. They're a really fun team to watch. And I like Lamar Jackson, and I know you're not supposed to. I know we're not supposed to like the Ravens because one, they're our rivals in the AFC North, and two, they're basically the Cleveland Browns. They're the Cleveland Browns 1.0. But I think that's silly. Like, they're a different team now. Like, they're a different team. Move on. We have our own team. That's the way I see it. And I'm a fan of the Ravens this year particularly. Normally I wouldn't be. I would never be a fan of the Steelers. But like, I like the Ravens this year. I think they're a good team. I think they're fun to watch, and I'm rooting for them. Not to beat us, obviously, and not to, if it ends up being a close playoff race somehow, then I'm not rooting for them to, beat us in it. But they'll definitely go to the playoffs, and I'll probably root for them once they're there. Especially because they can beat the Patriots. And anybody who can beat the Patriots is someone I'm going to root for. But they're in first place at 6-2. Steelers have won 3 in a row, and they are now 3 and 3 and I honestly don't even know. They're 4-4. That makes more sense. I was like, there's been at least 8 games. So they've won 3 straight. Browns haven't even won 3 games. So we're in third place at 2-6, and then the Bengals are in last place at 0-8 because they are the only remaining winless team in the league now that the Dolphins won. The Dolphins beat the Jets, which I did predict, so that was cool. They actually kind of stomped on them a little bit. But it's interesting because excuse me. So I'm in school right now, but I'm going to be home for like 2 weeks for Thanksgiving. I'm going to come home the week before Thanksgiving and then just stay kind of through the holiday before I go back. So I'll be back a week and a half or whatever. And in that time span, the Dolphins play. So the Dolphins play a couple days after I get back. And I was thinking about going to that game because I was like, it's November 24th, so it'll be cold, but it won't be like, hopefully it won't be like winter cold where it's 0 degrees and I need 40 pairs of gloves and 40 layers of clothes, whatever. Hopefully it'll be, nice enough, 20s, 30s maybe. So I didn't think the weather would be too bad. Obviously the Dolphins were winless, when I was thinking about this, and they're just not a good team in general. So I was like, that's a guaranteed win. But the Browns don't have any guaranteed wins anymore. After losing to the Broncos and I guess the Titans, really. I guess those were only guaranteed wins. The Jets. Yeah, we did beat the Jets. But after losing to the Broncos and just the way the season has gone, I don't know if I want to go to that game anymore. I don't know if I want to waste my time and money. And plus, I have other things that I could be doing that weekend if I were not to go to the Browns game, so it makes me kind of want to do that instead if the Browns continue to lose and crap the bed and suck. So I've been saying a lot. I need to stop doing that. Self-awareness, ladies and gentlemen. So I might not go to that game anymore. We'll see how these next few games go. And assuming that the Browns are going to lose the next 2 games and it won't go well, I probably won't go to the Dolphins game. And then I can potentially do other things that weekend that I could be doing instead of going to the Browns game and watching them lose to a terrible team. But that really sucks, because, people spent a lot of money on tickets this season for the Browns. And I would be basically getting these Dolphins tickets for free. I'm not going to explain how, but I would basically be getting... Excuse me, I got to fix something. I'd basically be getting the tickets for free, and I would only be spending money on parking, gas, concessions, whatever. And so even getting the tickets for free, I don't want to go. Like, parking is cheap. I always park in a decent spot. I'm not going to say where, but I have a cheap parking spot. I don't always spend that much on concessions, if anything. I try to eat before I leave just so I'm not super hungry, and then if I end up being hungry at the game, I'll get something. No big deal. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think I would have to pay for concessions either, because I'm not going to explain everything, but basically it would be like a $15 trip, I guess, maybe tops, to go to the game. $15, all inclusive. Now the seats wouldn't be that great. They'd probably be like, somewhere in the 500s, maybe not too high, but none of this is the point. The point is that it sucks that I could basically go to this game for free, maybe $15 tops, against a really, really bad team that we should beat and almost every team should beat. But I don't want to. I don't want to because the Browns are that bad. There's a chance we could lose. We haven't played well at home. I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to sit out in the cold. Screw that, And so, again, we'll see how these... I said again. Dang. But, we'll see how these next few games go. We have 2 more before the Dolphins game. If we lose both, I don't think I'm going to the Dolphins game. Even if we were to win both, I still might not go to the Dolphins game. Because there's a chance we could lose to a bad team, and I don't. If we were playing well, if we were 4-4, maybe even 3-5, if the season was starting to look better, and and if we had beaten the Broncos, I think that was the big thing for me, is that we didn't beat the Broncos, and we should have, because obviously the first half of the season was difficult, it was challenging. We had one of the tougher schedules in the league. I think we were tied for the second hardest, maybe? Second toughest schedule in the league. So I can understand losing those games, but the thing is, it's not like we've played well and lost in those games, right? We've played really poorly and lost in those games. We lost to the Broncos, of course. There's a lot of things that go into it, and we should have beaten the Broncos, right? If we're going to lose to a bunch of good teams in the first half of the season, we should win most of the games the second half, and we lost to the Broncos. They suck. They really suck. And so I think that was, like I said, that was genuinely what did it. Is if we beat the Broncos, I would probably be all in on the Dolphins game. I'd probably be like, okay, we might be bad, but at least we're beating the really, really bad teams. At least we're beating the teams worse than us. But that's not the case. We lost to the Broncos, and we're probably in the bottom 4th of the league now in terms of record and just in terms of power rankings. I should look. I'm not going to look it up now, but I would bet solid money we're in the bottom 4th of the league. That's 8 teams. That's a lot of teams, and I think we would be in there. I don't think we're better than 8 teams in the league, and we're obviously not better than the Broncos anymore. So that game, this Broncos game, has been enough to make me probably not want to go to the Dolphins game, which really sucks. Because I haven't been to another game this season just because I'm in school, and this was probably going to be the one game that I go to this year, because I usually go to one a year. The 0-16 season, I went to all the home games except for one, and then obviously the London game that year, which doesn't count because it was in London. So I think I went to 6 of the 7 home games. And then that's because I wasn't away at school yet. So I was still close by. I was still near Cleveland. But now I'm away at school, so it's harder to go to the games, of course. But I usually go to one a year. I've been going to at least one a year for a long time now. I guess since I was able to drive, probably. Even maybe before that then, because I could have always had my parents drive me or something. I don't know. Point is, I've been going to at least one game every year for a long time. Usually more than one. It's always been at least one, but usually more than one. And I don't think I'm going to go to one at all this year. There's a very slim chance. Because the Dolphins game is the only game I'm interested in, because it's the easiest game on the rest of our schedule. And it's during a decent time of the year, I guess. Like I said, the weather probably won't be great, but it won't be horrible. And so that's the only game I'm considering going to, and I might not even go to it. So whatever. We'll see what happens, but I might not go to a game this year for the first time in a long time. Because we're that bad and that frustrating. Anyway, I got to stop being... I mean, it's hard to stop being negative with this team, but I'm just gonna keep trucking along. I'm gonna move forward. Let's look forward to this Bills game. We're not gonna win. At least I really don't think so. We finally have a 1 o'clock game, thank goodness, so I don't have to wait 3 hours anymore. We are at home. Don't think that'll make a difference. The Bills are pretty good. We'll lose 23-14. I say that, but Austin Seibert's been so good. It's hard to see him not getting a field goal. 23-17. I think that's a solid score. 23-17. And they have a good defense, and our offense isn't particularly great, but I think we'll be able to squeak out at least a field goal and then maybe 2 touchdowns by the end of the game, even if one's in garbage time. So I guess that's fair. Yeah, 23-17. Final score prediction for the Browns versus the Bills. News around the NFL. Time for our Around the League segment. The entire NFC North lost this week. Packers lost to the Chargers. The Lions lost to the Raiders. The Bears lost to the Eagles. And the Vikings lost to the Chiefs. So arguably the best division in football lost this week. All 4 teams. So that was interesting. I did not see... I don't know what I said earlier. Did I say the Lions lost to the Raiders? Because that's not true. They lost to the Bears. No. I'm looking at next week's schedule. The Lions did lose to the Raiders. Okay, stop listening to me. I'm a moron. The Packers kind of got crushed a little bit. They lost 26-11, so that was a surprise. I guess that was their one crazy irregular game for the season. Because the Chargers have not been good, so everybody always has at least 1 or 2, maybe 3. Probably not 3. Maybe 1 or 2 irregular, crazy, uncommon games for the season, like fluke games. That was one of them, I think, for the Packers. Lions lost to the Raiders by 7. That makes sense. Vikings lost to the Chiefs in a heartbreaker. Did it go into overtime? No, it was a game-winning field goal by my boy Harrison Butker, though. And then the Bears lost to the Eagles by 8. I kind of saw that coming. Pretty sure I had that predicted as well. So that's interesting. The Patriots finally lost. I already talked about that earlier. They kind of got stomped on a little bit by the Ravens. That was a fun game. They lost 37-20. Lamar Jackson's just too good, man. Too good. I already mentioned this as well, but the 49ers are the last undefeated team in the league now that the Patriots lost, and the Bengals are the last winless team in the league now that the Dolphins won. So we still have people on both ends of the spectrum. I told you that I thought the Dolphins would win a game before I thought the Bengals would win a game. But now the Bengals have the possibility of going 0-16. So I think that'd be interesting to see happen, just so there's more people in that 0-16 statistic. Because right now it's just the Browns and the Lions, and I wish there were more teams. That way it didn't seem as awful. But that's that. Going over the games from last week, I already talked about a few, but I went 9-5. There were 14 games, if I'm not stupid. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Yep, 14 games, so I went 9-5. I already talked about some of the crazy ones. Steelers beat the Colts by 2. I was kind of shocked about that. Anything else really crazy on here? Seahawks barely beat the Buccaneers. They won in overtime. I didn't see much of that game, but that was crazy to see the final score and kind of what was happening just in terms of highlights and things. Chargers beat down the Packers. Talked about that. And the Cowboys beat the Giants on Monday Night Football. So pretty basic stuff. What were the 5 I missed? Thought the Lions would win, which they did not. Thought the Colts would win, which they did not. So that's 2. Thought the Patriots would win, which they did not. Thought the Browns would win, which I did not. And the Packers would win, which they did not. I completely messed up my wording there, I'm pretty sure. But whatever. I'm not repeating everything. You get the point. Oh, by the way, my laptop is at 68%, so we're not We're not running extremely and desperately low this time, so that's good news. That's an upgrade since last week's episode. And I guess all that's left to do is go over the picks for this week's games. So we have, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13 games this week. Yep, 13 games. Starting tomorrow on Thursday Night Football, you have the Chargers at Raiders. Ooh, that's tough. Normally I would say the Raiders, but the Chargers just beat the Packers. So, wow. I really don't know. I'll say the Chargers. Chargers win that game. Giants at Jets. Battle of New York. This is starting on Sunday at 1 o'clock. Giants and Jets. The London games are done, by the way, so I can stop worrying about those. Giants at Jets. I will take the Giants. Falcons at Saints. I will take the Saints. Chiefs at Titans. I will take the Chiefs. Ravens at Bengals. I will take the Ravens. Bills at Browns. I already took the Bills. Cardinals at Buccaneers. I'll take the Buccaneers. Lions at Bears. I will take. I feel like every week I pick the Lions and they always lose. I feel like they're a good team. I feel like they're a much better team than their record indicates. But maybe not. I don't know. Lions at Bears. I guess I'll take the Bears. Maybe finally pick against the Lions for once. That'll probably end up being wrong, but lots of mine are. So I'll take the Bears in that one. Then starting off the 4 o'clock games, you have Dolphins at Colts. I'll take the Colts. Panthers at Packers. I will take the Packers. Rams at Steelers. I'll take the Rams. And then for Sunday Night Football, you have Vikings at Cowboys. I'll take the Vikings. And Monday Night Football, you have the Seahawks at 49ers. I think the 49ers finally lose their first game of the season. Seahawks win on Monday Night Football on Armistice Day. Woo! Jeez. So that wraps up this week's episode. Thank you all for listening and hearing me rant and complain about the Browns every single week. Or maybe even just this week. Who knows if you're a new listener. This season in particular is really frustrating. I'm not going to get into it again, I guess. But thank you for sticking with me. Thank you for sticking with the Browns if you're a loyal fan like myself. It makes having other fans out there who are as loyal and committed and depressed as we are and as I am myself makes it a lot easier. Having a group of people who feel the exact same way makes everything a lot easier and just it's more comforting. So, again, I appreciate you guys listening and I will talk to you in next week's episode. See you later.